a Solar One sci-fi podcast.
Hello there, welcome again to yet another episode of the Solar One Sci-Fi Podcast. I'm Michael Bull. This is episode 219, which is nothing spectacular, but it's more than 218. Martin is actually not going to say no longer with the show. That's not what I'm going to say. Martin is not available tonight. He's bailed out at quite a sort of like last minute. Obviously, he's got his own life commitments, so we understand that. It's a shame because we wanted to get his perspective on this movie, which we're going to review, which he gave the impression he didn't like very much. So, and Malcolm's already given some indication about what he thinks about it. So that should be interesting. So, Malcolm, how are you? Malcolm Patterson joining me as faithfully as ever. How are you?
Good. Yeah, all good.
Enjoying the nice weather?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, apparently we're supposed to have a heat wave in the UK. I mean, it's funny because I used to live in London, and when it was hot in the summer, it was hot in the summer in London. Down here, South Coast, it's lovely and cool. So I'm not boasting or anything, but it never gets too hot here.
Yeah, I mean, like right now, it's 28 degrees.
Yeah, I mean, my watch says it's 22 degrees. So it's amazing how, but it's just that it's the humidity up there. But yeah, it's not too bad. Yeah, we're going to be reviewing this movie, but before that, there is a few bits of news, sci-fi, which I wanted to talk to Malcolm about, and one of them actually made me think about wanting to review it with you and Martin because we haven't done that. So the link is that I've just heard that Spaceballs 2 is going to be made, which I'm surprised about because it's been about nearly 40 years since Spaceballs 1 with Mel Brooks.
Something like that. Yeah,
have you heard about it? What do you think about it? You bothered? You interested?
Yeah, I mean, to be brutally honest, I don't really see the hype with Spaceballs. I've seen it several times. The two funny jokes in it are very funny to me, but the rest of it is just. I can't even get my head around this is the same guy who did Blazing Saddles. For instance.
Yeah, because Blazing Saddles is a huge movie.
I know I'm massively in the minority, and everybody's been waiting for this movie. But as honest, I mean, half the cast can't even be in it from the first film, so fuck knows how they're.
Is it Rick Moranis? Isn't it? He's the guy that's back, isn't it?
Rick Moranis he's retired.
And Mel Brooks is 98 years old.
Yeah, if Ghostbusters couldn't get Rick Moranis back, which is like his favourite role, there's no way he's going back to do this.
Oh no, apparently it's been confirmed.
I would have thought.
As last I heard, it was confirmed that he's coming back. Mel Brooks is
I'd say.
You don't think it's going to happen?
Yeah, I'm talking about Rick Moranis.
No, I'm talking about Rick Moranis. Okay, the last I heard that he's coming out of retirement to do it, but as you say, it's hearsay. I mean, you hear these things, but until he's actually being filmed, in front of the camera, you never know how it's going to turn out, kind of thing. I'm the same. I actually wouldn't mind reviewing it with you and Martin, if you'd be up for that, because I've not seen it for many years. I like a lot of those sort of 80s comedy movies like The Naked Gun, Airplane, all those sort of things. I prefer those to this. Yeah. But I'd like to see it again because Tim Russ from Voyager makes a very small cameo as
arguably for me one of the only funny moments of the film.
Is that the one you're referring to? Is that
the whole Tone in the Desert thing? I just thought that was a great gag.
Yeah, that's the bit I was thinking of. So I actually posted on somebody else's channel. I said, look, I hope he comes back for a cameo because he was so funny in that one scene.
I've seen a lot of people on Facebook saying he needs to come back and say something like, "We still ain't fair," What I mean? that's just that one line, and then off he goes.
I mean, do you think do those sort of comedy movies work for you generally? I mean, like I said, I'm Naked Gun and Airplane.
I love the Naked Gun films, and I am really looking forward to the new Naked Gun with Liam Neeson. What did you think about the trailer? Liam Neeson is incredibly funny.
I can't believe that. Because I always remember him from the extras in the outtakes where he was wanted to be an actor, and he did this sketch.
Yeah,
and he wanted to the greengrocers.
To explain comedy was just brilliant.
Yeah, but it was so funny
when he's buying the cereal, and he's like, "So if I buy this, no one's going to follow me," and all that. I think he will be perfect for Naked Gun.
I just never. I only heard about this movie. As long as the people
writing it can write gags properly, he can pull it off.
But I saw the trailer.
Say Steve Martin, who messed up the Inspector Clouseau thing completely.
I didn't like that. I love the original Inspector Clouseau. And I also, what was the one who did we did Phil Silver's Sergeant Bilko? Who was in that? Was that Steve Martin as well?
Oh, yeah, maybe.
Because I've got all the old Sergeant Bilkos, and I used to quite like that old. I think it was. I can't remember.
I mean, I never watched it really. I used to watch Top Cat, but I never really watched Sergeant Bilko.
No, but obviously Sergeant Bilko was a live action thing. It wasn't a cartoon, so it's kind
Yeah,
of like.
yeah, I know.
But yeah, yeah, Leslie Nielsen. I think it's funny that it goes back to, like I said, his that sketch where he wanted to branch out into comedy. But the trailer's funny. But Spaceballs 2, I don't know. I mean, it's quite interesting that it's they're going this way. And as you say, when they do these remakes, they sometimes work, they sometimes don't. Did you ever see
Given the massive backlash to Star Wars, the prequels, the sequels, the TV series, and all of that, and the fan fucking clashes over it, it's inevitable that there are going to be some wonderful gags in Spaceballs too. If that's what Mel Brooks has decided, that is poking the fun out of the fan reaction to the sequels is the way to go.
I mean, I'm always a bit dubious about contemporary comedy. I know you like a lot of animated shows and stuff, but a lot of stuff I've watched, I've said no, I've not watched a lot of contemporary comedies. I know some of it works, but like I said, I don't know. I mean, it's I saw National Lampoon's Vacation. They did a remake of that, and it was all right. It was got the guy from The Office,
Andy
isn't it?
from The Office.
Yeah.
I'd love that. I think me and my missus, we watched that film one evening, and then my parents were around, and we put it on and made them watch it. And then my brother and sister-in-law were around a few days later. We sat and made them watch it.
He likes it. Yeah.
We really like that film.
Do you like it more than the originals? Do you like it more than the originals, or?
No, but the originals are dated.
But I like dated stuff. I do quite like dated comedy. I just don't know why. But I watched a film called Smoke Them Up or something. It was about these two stoners. Smoked Up or something like that? No. Oh, damn, what was it called? Oh, I can't remember. But it was quite a funny film. It was about these two guys who, well, it was a sort of like a comedy film with them sort of like smoking. The one smokes a joint which is like a thick as sausage, but it is actually made of shit or something. I don't know. It's just very funny. But it was a 70s comedy. Up in Smoke. Up in Smoke. It was called. It's quite funny.
Okay.
And it's go on.
Not sci-fi, but the other night we watched on Amazon a new film called. Bloody hell, I forgot what it's called.
Is that good?
Quickly look it up. But yeah, it's brilliant. One of the funniest films I've seen for a long time. Comedies to me, I'm quite harsh with, because I find that there are very, very few comedies where I'm laughing all the way through. And this one was brilliant. There's Bryce Dallas Howard.
Oh yeah, from Star Wars.
Cover.
Okay.
Bryce Dallas Howard, Orlando Bloom, and Nick Mohammed. Nick Mohammed, I don't know if you knew him. He's in Lasso, which I recommend watching. He's a young, or small Asian guy, but he's incredibly funny. But just the premise of this, without giving it away, is they're improv actors, and they're recruited by the police because of their ability to make stuff up on the go. They're recruited just to go undercover and just bring down a newsagent that's selling dodgy cigarettes. But because they're improv guys and they keep doubling down on everything they're fucking asked and getting into their characters and taking it to the nth degree, they end up fucking infiltrating a massive fucking cocaine gang and all that. And it is just so funny.
Yeah, okay. I'll check that out. I'll have a look at that. I'm always up for new stuff.
Definitely worth it.
Brilliant. So that's obviously the comedy side of things, and like I said, we'll see about that. I mean, do you want to review Spaceballs 1 next show, or is there anything that you want to? Because I've been having my choice recently.
Yeah, I'm still looking to do Sleeper, obviously, but yeah, Spaceballs want me to. I mean, if it's sequels coming out, I do like to watch something like the original again.
That's what I was thinking.
I haven't seen it for 20 years.
Yeah, that's exactly. If we do it, I'll rewatch it myself, and I'm sure Martin will be up for it as well. So let's do that, and then maybe we'll do Sleeper after that. Is that okay with you? And we'll obviously check with Martin, because I'll do that as well. I mean, You know, I just thought that the only reason that Spaceballs has come out is because it's now back in the news as a new sequel. So, yeah, that should be good. Other things I've been interesting about Doctor Who. Now, I made a song this week, which I did put on YouTube, which I'll share at the end of it again, called Time's Ticking Blues. And I thought it came out pretty good. I was quite pleased with it, actually. So I'm going to share that. But the reason why I'm mentioning the song for the end of the show is that it's quite interesting that Dead Ringers, which I thought would stop many years ago, they did a sketch about the current Doctor Who. And this is a BBC production. And they're really slagging it off and taking the piss. And what I've noticed is that, which obviously is, like I said, it's done by the BBC, another well-affiliated Doctor Who website is Doctor Who TV. And I've been looking at it this week, and they're starting to get some really critical, negative opinions about Doctor Who. They've always been sort of like neutral. And I'm starting to see that there's a lot of backlash from this finale that we only just saw. Have you seen anything about that, or is that just? Are you aware of that? How do you
Not
think?
really. I thought the Dead Ringers thing was quite funny, to be fair. I'm assuming that's radio now, not because they did do a TV series.
I don't know. I just know of it.
Just because there was no video that went with it on YouTube, and
I
there's a
think
little
it might be. It might be
down
like
in
a
the corner.
podcast
So I
or
think
like
it's
an
Radio
audio.
4.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
it is.
And
It's
but as near as I can see, there's all people going back, particularly now the Radio Times has come out and it says Billy Piper, the new Doctor, question mark. And people are like, oh, that confirms she's not. And it doesn't confirm anything. It's like, all they want is you talking about it. The thing is, they've got no fucking idea. They came up with this
It was
at
a
the
gimmick.
11th hour.
It was
oh
a
my
gimmick.
God, how are we going to end it and keep people talking about it to
Yeah.
justify bringing it back? And this is what they've done. They've got no fucking idea what they're going to do with it. They're just going to probably read into it and then come out with some shit at the end. Like they've done, like for the whole of New Who, like they've done with every single cliffhanger. They have these massive, wow, oh my God, cliffhangers. And then they just piss them away afterwards because they let the T-boy try and figure out how to get around it. The worst one being after this big build-up of Clara Oswald of like, who is she and blah, blah, blah. She finishes and on the next time, she's like, Clara Oswald never existed. And you're like, oh my God, who is she? And then you find out next time it's just something she shouted at the Cyberman to stop him fucking attacking. It's just, that was the weakest, like most fucking stupid follow-up to a cliffhanger I've ever seen in my life.
I have to say though that a lot of people are saying that the last episode of the current season is the biggest pile of shit that they've ever seen. You know, I've been looking at one or two YouTubers who are like big fans. I think one's called Gallifrey Girls or something, and you should have seen their faces. And one threw a pen at the camera at the end of it. It's like she was so fucked off. I just found it really comical. It's like, and of course now you're hearing all these rumors that they rewrote it because Ncuti was going to be in the third season and then he didn't because they weren't sure about the Disney thing, and so they rewrote it last minute. They threw in the Billy Piper thing, and apparently Susan was going to be in the finale, and Susan was going to be the daughter of Pickle, is it the kid or something?
Yeah, say, bye, Mum, on the way past.
Yeah, and then it's going to be like a sort of like a tease into, but of course, so they did feature her briefly in previous episodes, but now that's completely redundant because they couldn't finish off that slight kind of like hint of something. So utter shit. You know,
in hindsight, what they should have done, they should have just left the original ending. If it was just Ncuti and Belinda going into the TARDIS and just leaving, so what? They should have just left it at that. Even if he doesn't come back next season, even if they had to knock him a bit to do a regeneration thing next season.
Yeah, they could have saved it. They could have saved it.
They could have easily done that.
I mean,
and
it's like
it would have been better.
I mean, obviously it's not the best example, but of course Colin Baker didn't return for his regeneration in the first episode, Time and the Rani. So they had this Sylvester with the wig on and on the floor and regenerates and stuff like that. Now, I'm sure they could have done a way that they could have left it, as you say, because the way they rewrote it at the end was such a mess, convoluted. Mess in every way, shape, or form.
It's my daughter. It's not my daughter.
And then but then I'm
going to save the universe by
regenerating, and my energy is going to bring the universe back. And what? I mean, that honestly, I'm the biggest science fiction fan, as you know. That was just a mega turd in the science fiction story writing.
Do you know? I think Russell T Davies, almost everything he's done has been crap. I know that people are, but he brought the show back. Listen, anyone could have brought that show. One guy today I was talking to, and he's gone like, he brought it back with 10 million viewers. I said, listen, anyone that brought that show back would have got 10 million viewers because everyone tuned into the show. No one knew about him. No one knew what he could do. No one knew anything. They all just wanted to see the fucking TARDIS again. And
Do you
anyone
think?
would have got those reviews.
I mean, I know that you're pretty anti New Who anyway, but do you think it might be better if Stephen Moffat had started rather than Russell T Davies first?
So I'm not anti it. There's just a lot about it I didn't like,
Right.
personally. But I'm not anti it. And Stephen Moffat wrote the handful of best episodes. You know,
That's what I
you
was
bring
thinking. Yeah.
Doctor Dances and what have you.
Sure.
But then we've seen what Stephen Moffat chucked up when he had the reins to the whole show, and it wasn't very
So
good.
you're saying he was better as a writer, but not a
Yeah,
showrunner?
getting him into to do the odd episode here and there, he's brilliant. Put him in charge of the store, and basically the building's going to be burnt down when you get back.
So with the 4 showrunners we've had over the last 20 years, who was the best showrunner?
I'm assuming 4 because you're counting RTD twice.
Twice, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. I don't really agree with this idea of a showrunner anyway. It's a very American idea.
Okay.
What have you? Certainly the best. It was less of a shit show when RTD did it the first time he did, but that's because he didn't write all the episodes because he literally wasn't very good at it. But you could easily fix what he did at the beginning, and it would have still been that. Once Moffat came along, they started to get more convoluted, to my mind, with the overall stuff that was going on. You know, the whole Matt Smith thing, and I really disliked the fact that he would pop backwards and forwards with Billy. But when it was with Amy, and he would just leave him on Earth and then go off and then come back and all that, I really started to lose interest at that point. And then they tried to do that whole will they, won't they love triangle.
Oh yeah, well yeah,
and
yeah,
all the love shit in Doctor.
Well, I mean, the one thing, the greatest criticism I've got for current for New Who is the love interest, especially. I mean, I'm not so bothered about the companions, but a Doctor falling in love. I mean, they keep doing that. And the Doctor is an asexual being. He never had any feelings to any of the previous companions in the classic series.
I mean, I will accept that the Doctor fell for the who was it? It was the French woman, the French
woman
in the one with the robot.
Oh,
the girl in the
girl in the fireplace. Girl in the fireplace. Yeah, girl in the fireplace.
I will accept that maybe the Doctor fell for her. Right, we would allow that, and possibly even he had the hots for Kylie when he bumped into her in a Christmas special because it's Kylie and the fuck.
Yeah.
But all the rest of it was just horseshit. When it's now, he was married to bloody Queen Elizabeth.
River Song.
Fuck it is. He was married to and all that, and the whole River Song thing. The only thing I didn't really like the River Song character. Nothing against the actress. The character herself pissed me off. But I love the idea that they're meeting out of order.
Yeah, that was clever.
That was
very clever. That was a very unique thing. And that was a very good sign. Yeah, like the first time we meet her is almost like the last time before she died. That was clever. Yeah, I like that. Yeah. And the actress did do that well, even though the character might have been a bit annoying. So that's fair enough.
Yeah, Alex Kingston. I've seen her in other stuff.
Alex Kingston.
Song.
Yeah, that's interesting. So obviously that's the Doctor Who news. So again, it's still up in the air. Strange New Worlds. It's did we confirm last week? Did we know this time last week when it was?
No. This is last few days.
We got the few episode names. Of course. Now, what do you think about the fact that it's got renewed for the 5th season, but only 6 episodes, and then it's going to be finished?
I'd like to see why they only doing it for 6. But I mean, to be fair, it's an ongoing thing of these short seasons now. It's just absolute bollocks.
Too short.
The most they can do in 2 years is 10 episodes.
Yeah.
When they were knocking out 24 quality episodes.
26.
Yeah, in some bits. Now you had filler episodes, you had some cheap budget episodes and all that. My favourite idea for a budget episode is the clip show. Clip shows are shit.
Stargate had loads of clip shows. Star Trek,
brilliant at their clip show. Stargate are the only ones who are really good.
They've had about 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, they were good at it. But the thing is, clip shows, because you end up paying some of the other actors again for the clip show showing, they ended up being more expensive to do than the fucking rest of the season.
Did they? I didn't know that.
So many people royalties, yeah.
There's only one Star Trek clip
show. I think
show.
I only did the clip show once.
Once, yeah. It was the one with Riker in the end of season 2 where
Shades of Grey.
A terrible episode.
The dumbest reason we do it. At least when Stargate did it, they had a good reason for the clip
Oh, well,
shows.
like the Homer Simpson actor, Dan, what's his name? He was in an episode. He was
Oh
great.
yeah.
And they did it a few times, and they were. I don't know if Atlantis did one as well, but I know Stargate SG-1 did a load, and they were all
Yeah.
quite entertaining actually. So, okay, so yeah, so again, it's because there's this big thing coming up with the rights to make the show is coming up for review. I should check with Jay on Sidetrack and Tachyon Pulse. He's been going on about the fact that he reckons that they're wrapping up production of these shows before the new company potentially could take over, and then the rights would change. And apparently, they're saying that they've got to wrap these things up now, because if the rights to making Star Trek, I can't remember the name, Strange something, I can't remember the name of the company, if they go to another company, then Strange New Worlds can't be finished, because the rights of those characters, or some of the characters, are the intellectual property of the company that's making it at the moment or something. So they're rushing to wrap it up, because I think it finishes in summer 2026. So if they start production on Strange New World season 5, they've got about 6 months to get those 6 episodes done, which is so slow. And then they'll be allowed to do post-production even if the company rights go to this new company. That's what I heard. So that might be potentially why, and it might be possibly that they're saving up the money for something really grand for those last 6 episodes. The last episode I want of Strange New Worlds is that this Enterprise is badly damaged. It gets limps back to Starbase 1 or something. It gets refitted, and we see the TOS Enterprise, and they wear the TOS uniforms. It won't happen, but I'd love to see that.
Yeah, I know what you mean. It would
It'd be
good.
so good just to see a proper full circle, proper canon, and then I know that it was different in the original Cage, but I can let that go by.
Yeah.
But I could
Interestingly
do
enough,
that.
on YouTube, I've had coming up on my feed on YouTube a new kind of, from what looks like a fan film or trailer for a fan film and all this. Now, the reason I bring it up and say it's odd is because I'm fairly certain CBS shut down anything to do with fan films. Like they literally, because of the whole Axonar thing, they
Axonar,
pulled the fucking plug.
Yeah.
It was like the most you were allowed to do. You were
20
only allowed
minutes.
to do
20?
5 minutes.
No,
No,
it's
5.
Oh, was it? No,
But yeah,
well,
you
okay,
weren't
go on.
allowed to have any previous cast members. So
Yeah,
how like
no actors involved in
they're like you'd had Chekhov and stuff in Star Trek Continues, or which is the good one that you like, Star Trek Continues.
Yeah.
Yeah, they brought back a load of people that were in it before, and all that stuff.
Yeah, they had the guy that played Apollo. They did have some actors but they weren't main cast members. The ones that had main cast was the Star Trek New Voyages. They had George Takei came back in an episode of that. But from what I understood, I'm not disputing what you're saying, but I heard that I knew about the actors thing, but I think it was a limit to 15 minutes per episode of the fan film. But I've seen some which are a bit longer than that, so I think they've slightly taken off the pressure. But after the Axonar thing,
I think basically they wanted to kill Axonar. I think is what they needed to do. Because Discovery was coming out, and everyone was talking about how much better Axonar was going to be than Discovery. So they had to kill.
Yeah, and it never. And I don't think it ever got. I mean, I paid 20 quid towards that, and I still hear countdown to Axonar, and you see these scenes of him on the bridge.
I mean, he releases little clips and bits and pieces, but if you go through the original prelude to Axonar, half of the famous actors, which is where all the money went,
they're all died.
Yeah, they're all gone.
I know. Tony Todd and the guy from Battlestar Galactica. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, Richard Hatch.
Yeah. So that's just a waste of time. So, but as
there's a guy who played the Vulcan in he was in
Alien
Nation.
The guy in Alien Nation.
Yeah,
I can't think of his name. He's a good actor. Yeah,
I don't think he's dead, but yeah, he played one of the roles.
He was in Enterprise as well. He played a Vulcan in Enterprise. So, that's a shame. All right, matey. Anything else before we go into our folks of the week?
Yeah, so Marvel-wise,
I
haven't seen Thunderbolts yet, but the reviews on Thunderbolts are really good. But the new trailer for Ironheart is out. So Ironheart is like
I've not seen it.
A young kid who's built her own Iron Man costume, and I know the misogynists are out there. It's got to be a young black girl, all that. bullshit and all that. To be fair, in Black Panther, I thought she was the only good character in the entire film, and this does actually look quite good. I'm quite
Okay.
looking forward to it.
So is it a movie or is it a TV show?
It's TV series.
Okay.
TV series.
Yeah. Are Marvel doing a lot of TV series at the moment?
I think that's the first one they've come out with for quite a while. I mean,
Yeah.
I know Hawkeye season 2 apparently isn't happening because they halved Jeremy Renner's wages, and he said, "Well, fuck off then."
Oh, okay.
Fair play to him. But to be fair, they could do it without him. I mean, the idea is that there's a new girl, Haley Stanfield, who is the new Hawkeye. So they didn't really need.
So they've got options. They've got different options, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
I saw a picture of the new Superman on a bus stop poster. He looked really cheesy. It just didn't. I thought I thought seriously, it looks like a load of shit just on the image. I'm
hoping I'm wrong, and I'm hoping it's brilliant, but it just looks awful. James Gunn is a huge mixed bag on stuff he does. He could be really good, like Peacemaker, the TV series, which you have to watch.
Okay.
And then he can be shit in other stuff he does. So it's
one of those actors that doesn't always hit the mark. Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah, I mean, like Guardians of the Galaxy, I think was James Gunn, wasn't it?
Sure. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So with that,
what else is there?
Star Wars is obviously
Starfighter's coming along. Star Wars, they're starting production on Starfighter.
Star Wars, apparently they pulled the pin on all the films. They've just like cut all the films out.
Yeah, but they're making another film in September, Star Wars Starfighter, with I can't remember the actors in it, but they are making another Star Wars film. They're in post production of the Mandalorian one, and they've got the Ahsoka season 2. That's all they're doing. So that's
Mandalorian. I think I'm sure I read that Mandalorian is going to tie up Book of Boba Fett because that's not getting a season 2. The Mandalorian storyline. And something else as well. Something else has come out that will all be incorporated into that film, allegedly. Okay.
Yeah, it's I'll go and watch it. I'm a big fan. 28 weeks later is coming out. So I saw some posters for that.
I still need to watch
28 years later. And you still haven't seen the first two. So that is one I'd love to review with you and Martin at some point. I know Martin's not quite so into horror movies, but you've got to watch the first two. They're really, really good. If you get a chance, try it.
I like the odd horror movie, but I'm hard pushed to think of any horror movie that's in any way scary.
I just like I know what you're saying. And as I've got older, I'm quite hard, but I saw obviously 28 days later. I think it was made about 20 years ago, and it was pretty. It's I don't know. It's like you obviously things like The Walking Dead and World War Z and things like that, but the Rage virus is quite unique and it's pretty disturbing. That's all I'm going to say about it. And the second one as well with Robert Carlyle, and especially what happens to his character, which is quite shocking. I won't say any more than that. I do recommend them. Again, it's down to
horror movies just seem to be like, oh, how many jump scares and anticipated
I mean, Martin's the same. I think he's like you. He's much more into sort of superhero movies, but I'm not so. I'm more into horror than superheroes. But we all like similar things, but we've all got our own individual tastes.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed like Sinister. I mean, once Hammer had done the stuff, I mean, like Christopher Lee. There were many vampires out there, but Christopher Lee Dracula is just iconic.
Yes,
he's a guy that does give you the fucking shits. If you bumped into him, you would be like, "Oh fuck." Whereas a lot of the vampires since,
cheesy,
you probably think you got half a chance of getting away with it. Even Michael from the Lost Boys might get you to drink his fucking blood instead of killing you.
But also, I think your perception maybe changes as you get older. Do you know what? I've just realised we've only got 10 minutes before this wraps up. So, do you want to come back, or should we do a 10-minute review of this movie? Let's go into our focus of the week, and then we will obviously just go in depth for that. So, we'll be right back.
It's the Solar Sci-Fi Focus of the Week.
All right, so we're back, and we are going to be reviewing a film from 1989, and the plot says, Bill Smith, Chief Navigation of the National Transport Safety Board, NTSB, has been assigned to determine whether human error is the cause of an airline crash. He and his team of investigators are very confused by the words on the cockpit voice recorded by the crew related to the crash. But at the same time, a theoretical physicist named Dr. Arnold Mayer has a real professional curiosity about the crash, which borders on science fiction. While giving a university lecture, he speaks about time travel and the possibility of visitors from the future. Smith discovers the involvement of an organization of time travelers from a future Earth, irreparably polluted, into seek and rejuvenate mankind from it because it's about to perish. Sort of interesting and summary of the show of the movie. So I heard about this. It was a YouTube kind of one of these ones where it says that the 10 most forgotten science fiction movies in the last 30 years or something. Oh no, it wasn't. It wasn't that. It was the ones that really bombed in the actual at the cinema. It really bombed, and this was one of them. And Martin did say last week that it did apparently very good in video sales and renting and stuff when it came out. So before we go into all the how much it did and all this sort of stuff, obviously Malcolm, you checked it out. What did you think about it initially?
I mean, I went into it like obviously after what Martin said a couple of weeks ago, like, oh, I did a documentary on it and it's rubbish.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
And if I'm honest, you didn't really see it. Although you put it forward, you didn't seem that interested in it either. So I was going into it thinking, like, and I'll put it on, and I actually enjoyed it. I thought it was quite a good film.
Yeah. Because I kind of, I don't know why. I think it's because sometimes we all like. I thought you weren't going to like it because I liked it myself. I thought it was quite a sound movie. I liked the idea. I like these. What's it called when they had not earthquakes? They had this. What's the word they kept saying? When
Timequake.
What was it?
Timequake.
Was that what it is? And I kind of like the
Every time there was a paradox.
Paradox is what they kept saying.
Mm.
And I mean, I just thought that for what it was quite. It wasn't the most original concept, but I think it stood on its own for what it was. I like the idea that they were going back in time, and they were going back in time to people who were supposed to die, and then take them into the future so that they can, because there wasn't many people in the future. Was that something like that? Wasn't it? That's what they said, wasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't really. It didn't really explain too much in the film. So I'm just looking up something.
Yeah, because that's why I was a bit foggy as to
what year the novel was wrote.
Yeah, because they had the one plane where they managed to bring it, like the back of it, into the future, and then they were getting the passengers, and then they were getting replacement people who were going to die in the crash. Obviously, they weren't real people, but they would look like that in the analysis when obviously they recovered. I thought that was quite interesting, but it wasn't very specific, was it? It wasn't it was just mentioned, but it wasn't fleshed out as much as perhaps it should have done. What did you think about the two casts? Obviously, we had Cheryl Ladd, who I remember from Charlie's Angels. I thought she was quite good. And Kristofferson. Did you like the cast members, the two main stars?
Yeah, I think it's quite a good idea. I mean, Kristofferson was obviously a very famous singer back in the days, but he hadn't done that many films.
Convoy,
Convoy,
yes,
and Blade.
Yes,
he was in those. I can't think of too many other things he did. So it's great to have a good name, but not a massive star to play your part of this unassuming character.
Yeah,
which I thought was really good. And Cheryl Ladd as well. I mean, I imagine she's a 70s girl. I would have thought she's reaching the end of her possible time on screen around that point. I can't I don't remember much of her being around in the 90s.
I only remember from Charlie's Angels, which was made in the late 70s.
Exactly. So I think it's quite a good. I think it was good casting choice. They're both very good at it.
Yeah, and they seem to have quite a good dynamic between them. I thought the way they worked off each other. I thought the characters were pretty sound.
Yeah. I mean, thinking about it, I didn't disbelieve the fact that he fell head over heels for somebody that quickly, which he does.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, suddenly
give up everything. That wasn't unbelievable that he did it. It was quite good. Yeah, I mean, I'm a sucker for time travel stuff, and I particularly love it when they start getting into paradoxes and what have you.
Yeah.
Bill and Ted being the absolute brilliant ones of it. Like, I'll never forget the first time I saw Bill and Ted, where they're like, "How are we going to get out of prison?" He goes, well, when we get out, I'll get Dad's keys and I'll leave them under here. There you go.
There they are.
And then they just let
Yeah.
themselves out.
Yes,
That
yes.
to me, I thought was
Very,
absolute
very clear. And Back to the
genius.
Future as well had many of
So I
those
like
sort
all
of
the
things.
time
Yes.
travel stuff.
Yeah, I love all that sort of stuff
Yeah.
as well. And
So that's good. I like the fact that the film, because I didn't really read up too much on it, but I knew kind of what was going to happen. But it does, if you didn't know, it probably did take a bit of a body swerve about 2/3 or a third of the way in, when suddenly she's a time traveler and what have you.
Yes.
If you didn't know what you were going to see, that must have been a wee bit of a shock when it happened. But I liked it. The scenes from the future were pretty well
I
done.
like the scene. I like the fact that as
things.
well, you went back in the past and then you saw it from the perspective. It was like redone, but from her perspective, where at the from the first time around, it's Kristofferson's character who sees this woman who he's interested in, but she's a bit socially odd and a bit kind of not sort of focused.
And
She's preoccupied.
the first time around, it jumps to her saying hello, and then they're in bed together.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. In about 5 minutes. Yeah, well, that's the 80s for you.
Later.
Yeah, that's a very 80s sort of like, every movie had that. They literally sort of like, hi, how you doing? Come back to my bed, and that's it. Oh, it must have been a great time to live in the 80s. I was there, but I was at school, so it wasn't quite like that at our school.
They don't explain it being 1,000 years in the future till quite near the end.
Yeah, they don't focus on that. Yeah.
So I thought it was closer in time, and that the guy in the chair with all the
scientist guy, I thought
that was going to be Maya in the end. I thought that was going to be him, and that when he kills himself, he was just going to fucking oh my god and start fucking disappearing like Back to the Future style.
Yeah, or so, like Stargate, where people start disappearing in paradoxes, like they did in the TV movie that they made at the end of SG1. I also like the robotic, futuristic. He reminded me a bit of Crichton for some reason. I don't know why, but he had this sort of. Like...
I was just about to say he's up there as one of the best automatons I've seen in a show.
Yeah.
He's there with Rem Cogsworth. Is that his name? From the last Transformers movie. And even of the Star Wars droids, I mean KS2O was all right, but Ahsoka's droid, the one that she has, the Jedi
Hu Yang.
Yeah, I really
I like Hu Yang.
David Tennant.
He was honestly he's one. I did a post on YouTube about my favorite droids, Star Wars droids, and K2SO1. And I thought I do like K2SO, but Hu Yang is very up there. I just think he's and obviously. So I mean, are you surprised at this? I mean, I was very, very vaguely remembered it. I think I might have seen it when I was about 15 or something. Do you remember it at all?
At the end with the big glowing ball, and he turns around and says, "Come on!" I remember that from maybe a TV trailer or film trailer or something from years ago.
I seem to remember the paradox things where they shout the paradox alerts. So it's one of those things that I might have seen very, very long time ago, and I literally have about 1% remembrance of it.
So the director was Michael Anderson, who did Logan's Run,
really?
Martian Chronicles, Martian Chronicles, Dam Busters, very early version of 1984, not the popular one that we know, but a 1950s.
Oh, there's another version of that. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah,
okay.
1997 version of 20,000 Leagues, and the first of the Jaws kind of inspired films, a film with Richard Harris called Orca. I know you've ever seen it. It's kind of like a
recognise the name. I've never seen it. It
story where basically Richard Harris kills an orca, and then its mate or mum or dad or something literally comes after him. It's kind of a backflip to the Moby Dick story. He just literally can't get away from this killer whale. It may even be where the term killer whale came from, because the film is called Orca Killer Whale.
Okay, so he did
so that was Michael Anderson, yeah.
So did Michael Anderson do the 70s Logan's Run then? Because that's one of my favourites. I love that movie.
Yep.
Really?
Yep. Okay. He is also for Walking Dead fans. Early series, there was a blonde lassie in it called Andrea. She was one of two sisters.
Okay.
She laughs. She when they go, she's the one who ends up almost going off with the governor, but then doesn't, and then she gets killed about season 2 or season 3, something like that. But she's in it from the very beginning.
Is she the one that also appeared in The Mist? The same actress, because there was an actress that was
maybe. Yeah, her name's Laurie Holden.
Yeah,
Michael
I can't remember the name.
Her stepdad.
Okay.
So Michael is her stepdad. Yeah.
Right. Okay. So I mean, are you surprised that this film wasn't better known? I mean, I think it should be much more well known as a movie, like Ghostbusters or something else. But it's vaguely in the public eye, from what I understand. I'm surprised because I probably would have known about it. So
Normally when I see those YouTube videos and it's like, 10 films you've never heard of, 10 sci-fi films that you will that you forgot existed and all that. Normally I watch them knowing full well that they're going to be the most famous films you've ever seen and that you've seen every one of them and that and all that. This is the first time I think one probably justified to be on a list like that.
Yeah.
As in, like, I kind of remember it, but I don't. When I hear Millennium, I think more the TV series with the X-Files.
The spin-off. There was a spin-off, wasn't there?
Right,
yeah. I remember
I think it was a spin-off, but it was another episode.
But it was related to it,
Henriksen
wasn't it?
was the guy in it. Yeah. I don't think I ever watched that because it was on. It was on at like fucking 1 o'clock in the morning.
I've still not got through the X-Files.
So I never bothered watching it.
I've still not got through the X-Files. I've always wanted to watch it, but there's so many episodes, and I just never get through it. I like it. I like the X-Files, but I just never seem to get through it. I've tried about 4 or 5 times in the last 20 years. I've only got to about the 3rd season.
X-Files to me was a series that was absolutely brilliant, but because it's a textbook example of why different writers will fuck a show up like that, because they all kept trying to add in their own bit to the conspiracy theory and try and reveal stuff, but then reveal that they weren't allowed to reveal stuff because nobody really knew what was happening, and then they would give you more breadcrumbs, but then somebody would have to erase those breadcrumbs. And I've always used this term for programs that do that because it's X-Filed itself up his own arse, which is what X-Filed did. It never really resolved. Even when they came out with the movies, I think it never really resolved much of any of that stuff. You had the black oil and the aliens were coming, so you knew aliens were actually a thing.
You were involved with it.
It never really. It just got too fucking convoluted.
Yeah. So obviously, like I said, this is a movie which is pretty old now. I mean, do you think it's a film that it could get a remake?
I was going to say, I think it could definitely be a remake, but it's one of those ones. I think a remake film wouldn't work so much. You'd want a limited series. Like, do you remember V? V was 2-hour mini.
It was 2 miniseries, and then and then you had
the final battle, the 3 2-hour bits. So I reckon 10 2-hour episodes would be quite, could do this, and you could even probably split it the same, a 4 and a 6 with a gap in between for changes and for stuff to happen, and maybe go on a year or two.
Yeah,
and I think that could work. I think it could be good.
Yeah,
expand on it because, as I said, they didn't really expand much on who they were or why.
I mean, they did. But the fact of the matter is, we had some answers, but there was a lot more information that it could have been provided. It was left more open to interpretation, I guess. And so,
I was reading the précis to the book here, and they say, like, basically, so there's been like, I don't know, 9 fucking nuclear wars and blah blah blah. The planet's full on fucks.
Yeah.
So they're having to go into the past to get healthy people. They have to take people at the point that they're about to die anyway, so they don't have any impact.
So there's no on the timeline.
And B, no one can see them die, which is why they have to do this big risky taking people off of aircraft. And in the book, apparently, it's even more than that. It's ships. It's anywhere where they can get people, including a century of Roman legions that were dying in the desert or something. They go and get, and then they take them off, and it's to another planet that they take.
Okay. Mm-hmm. So, but the whole point was basically that there was a shortage of humans, and they wanted just to increase the population in the future. That was the main perspective, wasn't it? I assume. I mean, like, we didn't actually see, like I said, we saw that this lab in the future. We saw the device that captures stuff, and then they can board it. But we saw some exterior shots, didn't we? I think, as you said, it was. But it would have been nice to know a little bit more about exactly how it all sort of worked out. But I thought it was good though. I thought it was a clever film.
I wouldn't know this if I hadn't read a little bit of blurb to the film. But I didn't pick up on it. It wasn't explained that she smokes purely because our atmosphere is so much cleaner than hers that her body can't take it. So she has to smoke while she's in.
Because it's more familiar.
Doesn't really make that clear.
I didn't get that. No, I didn't get that.
There is a bit where the guy does say to her that something's breaking down and I can change bits on you and all this kind of stuff. But that was it. But if I hadn't read the blurb, I wouldn't have realised.
I didn't catch. Yeah, but that makes sense that she's the smoky cigarette is more like the atmosphere that she's used to living. That's quite clever. So I would say that I'd say this is pretty. Should we rate it? Do you want to rate it, or is there anything else you want to say about it?
I'm going to give it I'm going to give this 7 out of 10. I think, if only just for the potential of it being a lot better, being really good, but also being able to be done really better with modern kind of effects and storytelling and what have you. It got a bit ploddy, like then, you know, do we really need to sit and watch them having dinner for 20 minutes, for instance? You know?
I'm going to give it an 8 out of 10, I think, because I think I was pleasantly surprised. It was definitely, as you already said, it's one of those films that you haven't heard about, but you should check it out. It is definitely worth checking out, even though it's 35 years old or whatever. But and I suppose I have to ask you, is it one you'd have in your collection?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I would
Definitely.
as well.
I mean, I might even when we're bored and we're looking for a film to watch, I might even say to the missus, you know, have a little watch on this, see what you think. And
Is
she's
she
not really
into
a
all that
massive
as
fan
well?
of,
Is she?
she's not a massive fan of sci-fi stuff, to be
But she'll
honest.
watch
But
the odd thing. Okay,
sometimes she likes this kind of thing.
okay, yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, thank you for that. I would love to have got Martin's perspective, but
Yeah, I'm
we
hoping when he reads this, he's going to either get on the old message and tell us why he didn't like it, or at least send us this documentary he apparently made
I tell you
about
what I'll
it.
try and do. I tell you what I'll try and do for him. I'll try and find it on his channel, and on the end of the actual episode, you can actually put in 3 links to 3 different things. I'll try and put. I can't promise, but I'll try if I can find it to put a link so you can get his perspective, because he's done some great content and great sort of analytical reviews of some of these shows that we and films that we like. So definitely. Okay, thank you for that. All right. So what we'll do at the end of this episode, we're going to review. We're going to leave with. Shall we do an AI review as usual that we always do, which I quite
Yeah,
enjoy?
I think, to be honest, I think the AIs are starting to lose it a bit now.
Shall we stop that, or what do you want to do?
It's starting to be like, Michael said this, and I'm thinking, no, he didn't. This Martin said that, or no, that's exactly the opposite of what he said.
Let's do it this week. Let's do it this week, but let's see about how much longer, because we've been doing it for about a couple of months now, and I think it is starting to lose its kind of. It was really bizarre when we first did it, but yeah, we'll do it one more week, all right, and then we'll see it, because it is quite funny just to get their perspective, and apparently you could change the accents as well and stuff like that, and I'll see if I can do a different accent. And we'll leave this song I did, Time's Ticking Blues, which I thought was very, very appropriate for Doctor Who, which is just such a shame. So in 2 weeks' time, we should be back to review Spaceballs, the original, if that's okay with you. And then we would 2 weeks after, depending on what you, then it's your and Martin's turns. I think Martin would be up for doing Spaceballs. I'm sure you'd quite like that one. And then I'll check out, what was the film you wanted to review?
Sleeper.
Who's in that?
Sleeper.
Is that with
Woody Allen.
Oh, Woody Allen.
Woody Allen.
Okay. Is that a new movie or is it an older movie?
No, it's way back in the.
Well, no, he's not around now, is he? Woody Allen's
60s or something. Yeah, he still is.
Oh, is
60s
he? Okay.
or 70s, something like that. Yeah.
And what's it about again?
So he plays an old Jewish clarinet player who goes into hospital to have a a routine fucking operation, and it all goes horribly complicated. So they use a new technology to freeze him.
Okay.
And then in the future, he's woken up by the whole planet's under some weird kind of dictatorship, and they've woken him up because he's an anonymous guy that they can use to assassinate the leader.
Oh, because he's not linked to the society of the future.
Yeah, he's not linked to the system or anything.
All
like
right.
that.
Yeah. Okay. I'll give that a go.
Sci-fi comedy is very, very hard to pull up. Very few people ever do it well, but this is funny.
What was that? Oh, there was a film with another one I want to review. Sci-fi comedy. Dark Star. You ever seen Dark Star?
Oh yeah.
Like that?
Dark Star a few months back.
I wouldn't mind doing that one as well.
Years ago.
Yeah. I've not seen that. I just remember this ball, this like beach ball jumping.
Okay, so this is what I was going to say. Have another watch, because the whole bit with the ball, you'll notice the bit with the ball is just him and one guy, and no one else mentions or sees this alien, because the film is one that I want to say John Carpenter made the film.
I think
is it John Carpenter? Yeah. So it's his first film that he did at university.
Yes.
So it's not long enough to be released as a movie. So all the stuff with the alien and all that was added in later
to make it movie length, so they can actually release it. Yeah. I think it was John Carpenter's first film.
When you know that, you can see how disjointed it is. But I mean, I love the bit that they're all blazing stoners doing nothing until there's an emergency. Then they all spin round and they're like, and they're all talking like this, like just consummate professionals at what they do. Okay, and all that. I just thought that was brilliant when they did that.
If you like,
the idea of a farm that is just.
If you
Good
like a
film.
stoner movie, then watch Up in Smoke. 'Cause I watched that over the weekend. And that was very,
Okay.
very funny. It's I like old comedies, and it's just it's I don't know. It made me laugh. So check that out. I'm not saying you should watch all these stoners movies, but it's often it just gives you a laugh. Thank you,
I never
Malcolm.
managed, yeah,
Go on.
but I never managed to find out. I was hoping you or Martin would know, but I never managed to find out who this droid or computer was from a TV show way back in the 70s odd. And whenever it spoke, before it spoke, it would go and then speak. And I'm trying desperately to think what it is. And I've gone through every show I can think of of kid shows that had a computer or a robot in, and it's none of them. But I absolutely remember it happening. It was
There's
just
no,
every
I
time the
know.
computer spoke, and then it would speak. And I cannot remember the show at all.
Have you asked
But hey,
ChatGPT? Have you tried to prompt it? Because that might be able to find it.
it's very hard to give ChatGPT anything other than a coughing sound, and then that doesn't really
Yeah.
help it.
Yeah. No, it's not ringing any bells.
And once someone like Martin says
Martin would
it
be.
rings a bell,
Martin
but he
does
couldn't
know
figure it
trivia.
out.
Martin, I
Yeah,
reckon he can figure out because he does know he does know
yeah. I mean, he threw a
his
few
trivia.
out there, and I said it's none of them because I've checked them all.
Okay. Well, hopefully we'll find out. I mean, we might get a response from somebody online. You never know.
Yeah,
Okay, Malcolm,
exactly.
thank you very much for coming on board. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time when we review Spaceballs and that infamous Tim Ross scene, which is really good as well. Thank you, Malcolm. We'll see you next time on the Solo on Sci-Fi podcast. Live long and prosper.
Live long and prosper.
How do you even start to make sense of the just constant flow of information coming at us, especially, when you're trying to keep up with sci-fi and entertainment? It feels like drinking from a fire hose sometimes.
It really does. Information overload is real.
Right. So today, our mission basically is to cut through some of that noise. We've got a stack of recent discussions, news, even a hidden gem of a film. We're going to extract the most important nuggets for you.
Sounds good.
Yeah, we'll cover everything from like long-awaited sequels, fan controversies, the future of beloved franchises, and then, a real deep dive into a surprising kind of forgotten sci-fi movie.
Okay.
We basically gathered a fantastic collection of insights here, pulled directly from some pretty lively conversations online. Gives us a real pulse on the sci-fi landscape right now.
Yeah, and what's fascinating, I think, is how these conversations, they seem separate, right? But they actually connect to these bigger trends in media production, fan engagement, and, the challenges of reimagining classic stories for new audiences. It really raises that question, like, how do we navigate this constantly changing creative landscape?
That's a great question. A crucial point, really. So let's just jump right in then. The buzz around sci-fi. Let's kick off with some really surprising news. Spaceballs 2.
Wow.
Reportedly in the works, nearly 40 years after the original. I mean, when I heard this, my jaw kind of dropped.
Yeah, that's unexpected.
It's quite an undertaking, isn't it? Especially with the rumors about Rick Moranis maybe coming out of retirement. And Mel Brooks himself is, 98?
98, yeah. It's a massive creative challenge. And, the original Spaceballs, it's a cult favorite now, but it had a pretty mixed reception back then.
Sure, yeah.
Some people felt it only had, 2 really funny jokes, even though it came from Mel Brooks, Blazing Saddles.
Right.
It just shows how hard it is to recapture that specific comedy vibe decades later.
Oh, absolutely. Comedy timing is everything. But speaking of the first film, that Tim Russ cameo, Tuvok from Voyager.
Oh, yeah. We ain't found shit.
Exactly. Brilliant. I'm really, really hoping he comes back. Maybe gets to say, "We still ain't fair." That'd be great.
That would be a nice nod.
And this challenge, recapturing comedy lightning in a bottle, it's not just Spaceballs. We see it everywhere with these 80s remakes, like The Naked Gun.
Right.
That's getting a remake too. And I've heard some surprisingly positive things about it, which is kind of rare for comedy remakes.
It is rare. It makes you wonder why some work and others don't.
Yeah, remember the National Lampoon's Vacation remake? Some people actually liked it better than the original, believe it or not.
Really? Huh.
Even though the original, some of the humor feels pretty dated now, like Up in Smoke, the Cheech and Chong movie, classic 70s stoner comedy, definitely dated, but still appreciated for what it is.
Yeah, it emphasizes the challenge with comedy remakes. Humor is so tied to cultural context, isn't it? It's just incredibly hard to translate across generations.
Yes, sir.
Think about the Steve Martin Pink Panther films, the Inspector Clouseau ones.
Oh, yeah.
Trying to replicate Peter Sellers. It didn't quite hit the same mark, did it?
Not at all. But, if Spaceballs 2 actually happens, imagine the material they have now.
Yeah.
They could poke fun at the massive backlash to recent Star Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
The prequels, the sequels, the TV shows.
Yeah.
The fan clashes.
Something clashes, yeah.
I
There's a
heard.
gold mine there for parody.
Totally. And speaking of funny stuff, I saw this new film on Amazon recently. Bryce Dallas Howard, Orlando Bloom, Nick Mohammed.
Okay.
It's about these improv actors who get recruited by the police to go undercover.
Mm-hmm.
And because they're improv actors, they just keep saying yes and to everything.
Huh.
They end up infiltrating this massive cocaine gang. Honestly, it was one of the funniest films I've seen in ages. Really surprised me. Definitely one for you to check out if you want to laugh.
That actually sounds pretty good. I'll look for that. Okay, so shifting gears a bit, other genre updates. Thunderbolts, early reviews are apparently good.
Yeah, that's promising. Maybe a different kind of superhero team-up.
Could be. A bit of hope for the genre, maybe, showing audiences still want fresh takes, perhaps not always the standard hero story. Could be a subtle shift.
And the trailer for the Ironheart TV series is out. Riri Williams, young black girl, builds her own suit. Some people call it the only good character in Black Panther. Wakanda Forever.
Right, I remember that discussion. So seeing her get her own series makes sense for expanding the MCU.
Yeah. On the flip side, looks like Hawkeye Season 2 isn't happening. Jeremy Renner, wage dispute, apparently.
Ah, okay.
But they've still got options, right?
Yeah.
With Haley Steinfeld as Kate Bishop, the new Hawkeye.
True, the story could continue through her. We're also seeing the new Superman poster getting called cheesy by some.
Yeah, I saw that. Bit of a classic pose, maybe too classic. And James Gunn's behind that, who's got a kind of a huge mixed bag reputation, doesn't he?
He does. Peacemaker was surprisingly good for many.
Yeah.
But other stuff, less so. Guardians also mentioned, of course. So, yeah, it makes you wonder what the tone of this new Superman will actually be.
And then Star Wars.
Yeah.
Big news there, apparently. It sounds like they've pulled the pin, quote unquote, on a lot of the planned films.
Pulled the pin, so paused or canceled them.
Seems like it, yeah. Focusing instead on more specific stuff, like Starfighter is starting production.
Okay.
The Mandalorian movie is in post-production. They're supposed to tie up Book of Boba Fett loose ends.
Ah, finally.
And Ahsoka Season 2 is in the works.
So it sounds like a deliberate streamlining, maybe focusing on what's worked recently, tightening control after some of the film criticisms.
Could be. Maybe trying to keep the streaming audience happy with established characters. Oh, and a quick heads up for horror fans. 28 Years Later is coming.
Oh, right. The sequel.
Yeah. If you haven't seen them, I really recommend watching 28 Days Later and 28 Weeks Later first. That whole rage virus concept.
Yeah.
It's pretty disturbing.
Especially 28 Weeks Later. Robert Carlyle. Intense.
Super intense, yeah. Don't say I didn't warn you.
Okay.
So, from sequels and updates, let's shift to a franchise that's, well, right in the middle of some serious fan debate right now. Doctor Who.
Ah, yes. The recent finale.
Yeah, there's been some significant negative reaction. It's gotten so much attention that even the BBC's own show, Dead Ringers, did a critical sketch about it.
Wow, really? Even the BBC?
Yeah. And Doctor Who TV, which is usually a pretty supportive fan site, right? They're publishing really critical, negative opinions.
That is striking. It shows how quickly sentiment can turn, even for a show like Doctor Who. We've seen YouTubers just visibly frustrated. One apparently threw a pen at the camera during the finale.
Threw a pen. Wow. That's a passion, I guess, or extreme frustration. It really underscores the deep emotional investment fans have.
Definitely.
And the rumors about what went on behind the scenes, they're pretty wild. Talk of last-minute rewrites. Apparently, Ncuti Gatwa was supposed to be in the third season, but that changed because of discussions with Disney.
Interesting. Disney's influence again?
And then the whole Susan thing. The Doctor's granddaughter. Allegedly, she was meant to be Pickles' daughter in the finale.
Wait, Pickles' daughter?
Yeah, some kind of tease, but it ended up being completely redundant. Just dropped. Sounds like a mess creatively.
It does sound messy. And it kind of reflects a pattern we've seen before, doesn't it?
It's
These massive, oh my God, cliffhangers.
Right.
That then just get, well, pissed away, frankly. Remember the whole Clara Oswald mystery, the impossible girl?
Oh, yeah.
The resolution to that was maybe the weakest, like most stupid follow-up to a big mystery arc I can remember.
Yeah, it really deflated.
Makes you wonder how much long-term planning actually goes into these huge narratives sometimes, or if they're just, winging it and hoping for the best.
That's a fair point.
Yeah.
Which brings us to that whole showrunner versus writer debate, right?
Yeah.
Russell T Davies, yes, he brought the show back. Huge credit for that.
Absolutely.
But some argue, the TARDIS was coming back anyway. Anyone could have gotten 10 million viewers just from the sheer excitement.
Yeah. That's a bold claim, isn't it? Saying anyone could have done it. While the nostalgia was massive, RTD's initial vision, the casting, that was crucial, I think.
Okay, fair enough. His early stuff was strong.
But it brings up that whole showrunner thing, which is kind of a very American idea, isn't it? One person with total control.
Yeah.
When RTD first brought it back, it actually felt less like less of a show sometimes because he wasn't writing every single episode.
Right. He had other strong writers.
Yeah.
Like Stephen Moffat.
Exactly. Moffat wrote arguably a handful of the absolute best episodes. Blink, Silence in the Library, brilliant standalone stories.
Masterpieces.
But then when Moffat himself had the reins for the whole show, the overall consistency maybe wasn't quite as strong as his individual episodes. Great writer, maybe not the best showrunner overall.
Totally agree. Brilliant writer, flawed showrunner. And for me, my biggest issue with New Who generally, it's the constant focus on the Doctor falling in love.
The romance angle.
Yeah. For me, in classic Who, the Doctor was fundamentally an asexual being. They didn't have those kinds of romantic feelings for companions. It just feels wrong.
I see your point. Though there were hints sometimes, maybe.
Okay, yeah, exceptions maybe. Like the girl in the fireplace, that was beautiful. Or even Kylie Minogue in the Christmas special, that worked somehow.
Yeah.
But the constant soap opera romance.
Yeah.
And River Song.
Yeah.
Okay, the character drove me nuts sometimes.
Yes.
But I have to admit, the actual concept, the meeting out of order thing, that was genuinely clever. Really unique.
Agreed. The structural idea was brilliant, even if the character herself was divisive.
Exactly. Okay, moving on. Let's deep dive into Star Trek, specifically Strange New Worlds. We're seeing this trend everywhere, right? Shorter seasons.
Definitely.
Strange New Worlds got renewed for season 5, which is great news, but it's only 6 episodes.
6? Wow. That's a stark contrast, isn't it? Older Trek shows used to churn out 24, sometimes 26 quality episodes a season.
Right. We even used to get those budget-saving clip shows.
Oh yeah, the clip shows. Stargate was brilliant at making those actually entertaining. Though sometimes, ironically, they ended up costing more because of royalties and stuff.
Really? That's funny. But yeah, this shift to 6 episodes, it makes you wonder, how sustainable is that for keeping momentum, for fan engagement, especially for Trek?
That's the key question, isn't it? Especially for a franchise built on exploration and often longer character arcs. Can you do that satisfyingly in just 6 episodes a year?
It feels rushed. And speaking of rushed, there's this theory going around that maybe they're wrapping up production on these Trek shows really quickly.
Oh.
Because the rights, apparently the rights to make the shows are coming up for review. Summer 2026 is the rumor.
The classic intellectual property scramble.
Exactly. So the idea is Strange New Worlds season 5 needs to get done like now. Because if the rights move, the current company might not be able to finish it.
So it's a race against the clock. If they start season 5 soon, they'd only have about 6 months to film those 6 episodes before that potential deadline.
Crazy. Right. My dream ending for Strange New Worlds, though. Enterprise gets totally battered, limps back to Starbase 1. Gets a full refit.
Yeah.
And then we see it. The TOS Enterprise, TOS uniforms, full circle. It'll never happen, but man, I'd love that.
That would be a pretty perfect poetic ending, wouldn't it? Bringing it right back to the beginning. But this whole situation, it really highlights how these big legal IP battles shape everything, doesn't it? Creative decisions, production timelines.
Totally. And it ties into the fan film world, too. Remember that? CBS cracking down hard after the whole Axanar thing.
Oh, yeah, Axanar. That was a big deal. Huge fan production, looked amazing, but it pushed things too far for the studio.
Yeah, led to super strict rules for fan stuff, like 15 minutes max, 2 parts max, something like that. And absolutely no previous cast members allowed.
Right. Which was a shame because some of those fan projects were incredibly well done. Star Trek continues. They even got Michael Forrest back as Apollo.
Yeah. And Star Trek New Voyages, they had George Takei in one. They were labors of love, really high quality.
Such a shame Axanar itself never got fully released, especially after all the crowdfunding and effort put in.
Yeah, real disappointment for the people who contributed. Okay. Wow, we've covered a lot of news and debate. But now it's time for our main deep dive feature.
All right.
A film from 1989 called Millennium.
Millennium. Okay, I think I vaguely remember that title.
Yeah. I actually found it on some YouTube list, 10 most forgotten sci-fi movies, or maybe films that bombed but did great on video, something like that.
Ah, one of those lists the algorithm provides.
Exactly. And honestly, I went in with pretty low expectations, vague memories, maybe thought it was a bit naff, but I was really, really pleasantly surprised.
Interesting. It's funny how often that happens, isn't it? Films that maybe didn't find an audience initially, but then get rediscovered years later.
Totally. The power of home video and now streaming. So the plot, it centers on Bill Smith. He's an NTSB investigator played by Kristofferson.
Okay, Kris Kristofferson. Blade, Envoy.
Yeah, right. He's investigating this horrific airline crash. 2 jets colliding midair. And he's really baffled by the cockpit voice recorder. The crew says some really strange stuff just before impact.
Intriguing setup.
Meanwhile, there's this theoretical physicist, Dr. Arnold Mayer, who's weirdly obsessed with the crash, too, giving lectures about time travel, future visitors, hinting at something more going on.
Sounds very sci-fi.
And the big reveal is, time travelers. They're from this future Earth that's become completely irreparably polluted, awful future.
Okay, so what are they doing back here?
They're trying to rejuvenate mankind, basically. Their method is, well, it's dark. They snatch people at the exact moment of their death, like from these plane crashes just before they die.
Whoa.
Yeah. And they leave behind these like replica bodies, pre-burned and stuff, to cover their tracks, all to basically repopulate the future. Grim, but kind of ingenious.
That is a grim premise. Wow. The novelization apparently goes even deeper.
Oh.
Yeah, it explains there's this desperate shortage of humans in the future because of like 9 nuclear wars or something insane.
9. Okay.
And they're not just taking people from planes, they're grabbing them from sinking ships, even, get this, a whole century's worth of Roman legions who are lost in the desert.
Roman legions, seriously. Wow.
And they're taking them all to another planet to rebuild humanity. It adds this whole other layer of scale and desperation.
That's incredible detail. The film itself introduces this idea of time quakes, too.
Yeah.
Consequences of paradoxes.
Yeah.
Which I thought was pretty neat.
Time quakes, I like that. Adds stakes to the time travel.
Yeah. And the casting, besides Kristofferson, we've got Cheryl from Charlie's Angels.
Cheryl, okay.
And they both just have this really nice, unassuming quality. They're dynamic, their chemistry. It felt surprisingly believable, even though, it's got that very 80s thing where they fall in love in like 5 minutes.
Yes, the accelerated 80s romance. Gotta love it.
Yeah.
But the time travel sounds like the real core here. Did it do clever things with that?
Oh, yeah. I'm a total sucker for time travel paradoxes. Love stuff like Bill and Ted.
Be excellent to each other.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that bit where they figure out how to escape prison. When we get out, I'll get Dad's keys and leave them under here. Genius. Or Back to the Future, obviously.
Oh, classic.
Millennium has some good stuff, too. Especially the twist revealing Cheryl Ladd's character is where the time travelers. They do this great thing where they re-show earlier scenes, but now from her perspective. Really effective.
Oh, I like that. Seeing events from a different point in time. Clever filmmaking.
Totally. And here's a really deep-cut detail, apparently from the film's blurb, not really spelled out in the movie itself.
Yeah.
Her character smokes. And the reason is, the future air is too clean for her polluted future body.
No way. So she has to smoke to, maintain equilibrium.
Exactly. Isn't that brilliant? Such a cool little world-building detail. Oh, and there's a robot. A really cool robot character called Sherman.
A robot, too.
Yeah. Kind of reminded me of, Crichton from Red Dwarf, maybe. Or Rem Cogsworth from the later Transformers movies. Or even K2SO from Rogue One. Or Hyung from Star Wars cartoons. One of the better movie bots, honestly.
That's high praise. It sounds like those subtle details, like the smoking, really add to the world building, underscoring those consequences of the future they're escaping. Makes it feel more real.
Exactly. And the director, Michael Anderson, we should mention him. He did some classics. Logan's Run, big favorite of mine.
Oh, Logan's Run, Carousel, yes.
Yeah. And The Dam Busters, an early version of 1984. And Orca, that kind of Jaws ripoff with Richard Harris.
Right, Orca the killer whale. He had a solid career. So what's the verdict on Millennium today?
Well, what does this all mean? I think it means Millennium is a film that really deserves way more recognition.
Looking at it now, it feels ripe for a remake, but maybe not another movie.
Yeah. What are you thinking?
I think it would work perfectly as a limited series. Like they did with V back in the day.
Oh, interesting idea.
A series could really flesh out the plot, the characters, give you all that extra information from the novel, maybe expand on those time quakes, the Roman legions. There's so much more story there.
I totally agree. A limited series would be perfect. It's weird the film isn't better known. When I hear Millennium, I usually think of the old X-Files spinoff, not this movie.
Yeah, the Lance Henriksen show, that probably overshadowed it.
Probably. So my rating, I'd give Millennium a solid 8 out of 10. Genuinely, pleasantly surprised. Definitely worth checking out, even being 35 years old now.
Yeah, I'm going to go with a 7 out of 10, mostly for that potential, you know, how much more could be done with it. But yeah, definitely one I'd add to my collection now.
Nice. So yeah, this deep dive really reveals a must-watch, I think. A film that just deserves way more eyes on it. Yeah. And that kind of wraps up another deep dive. Wow, we went from Spaceballs, Two Hopes and Fears.
Right across the galaxy.
To the intense debates around Doctor Who. And then uncovering this forgotten gem, Millennium. Our goal, as always, is just to help you cut through the noise, grasp the stuff quickly, and maybe find those aha moments.
Exactly. I hope you feel a bit more informed, maybe a little entertained along the way.
So next time, get ready. We're going to do a deep dive into the original Spaceballs. Seems appropriate now.
Perfect timing. Prepare for ludicrous speed.
And looking further ahead, we've got some other classic sci-fi comedies on the radar, like Woody Allen's Sleeper from the 70s.
Oh, yeah, the clarinet player, Frozen, who wakes up in that weird future.
That's the one. And John Carpenter's first film, his university project, Dark Star, the one with the philosophical beach ball alien.
Dark Star, yes. Let There Be Light, classic low-budget sci-fi.
Exactly.
Yes.
So lots to look forward to.
And before we totally wrap up, I'm still trying to track down that 70s TV show, Droid or Computer, you know, the one. Before it spoke, it always made this specific beep boop sound. It's driving me nuts.
Okay, listener challenge. If you know what show that Beep Boop Droid is from, send us a message. Help him out.
Please. Put me out of my misery.
All right. So, final thought for you to mull over. Considering how often we revisit and reimagine classic sci-fi, like we've talked about today, and how much fan reaction seems to shape these things now, what actually makes something a classic in today's media world? And how much should that original creative intent even matter when a story gets resurrected for a whole new generation?
That's a deep one to chew on.
Something to think about.
Yeah.
Until next time.
The TARDIS stands, its light grown dim, a shadow of what it once had been. The Doctor's charm, a fading glow. Where did the magic, the wonder go? Michael Malcolm, modern sigh, beneath the stars of a broken sky. The Daleks left, the Cybermen too. It's not the same as Doctor Who. Oh, time's ticking, blues can't turn it back. A once bright star has lost its track. The vortex fades, the thrill is through. We mourn the loss of Doctor Who. The ratings fall, the fans disperse. The scripts feel like a hollow verse. The TARDIS grows, but it won't soar. The heart of time feels no more. Sonic hum, it's lost its tune. A lonely echo in the gloom. Companions weep, the journey cease. The Doctor's magic needs release. Oh, time's ticking, blues can't turn it back. A once bright star has lost its track. The vortex fades, the thrill is through. We mourn the loss of Doctor Who. The sonic hum, it's lost its tune. A lonely echo in the gloom. Companions weep, the journey cease. The Doctor's magic needs release. Oh, time's ticking, blues can't turn it back. A once bright star has lost its track. The vortex fades, the thrill is through. We mourn the loss of Doctor Who.